Go.
Go.
And scene.
Wow, that wasn't even planned, actually. I feel like that was in fact, we can just sign off now. We don't even need to do anything. We won LinkedIn Live today.
Yes, I'm excited. We're going to give folks a couple minutes to come in.
Yeah.
If you are just jumping in or this is popping up in your feed, we are having a fun, but also slightly intentional, not slightly, an intentionally fun practice, run through, mic check, 1 2 1 2, dress rehearsal, whatever you want to call it. But really excited for April Palmer and her teammate who's not on screen intentionally. Adam will be joining us, and really excited.
We kicked him off onto LinkedIn.
Yeah,
we were like, you don't get
on
screen.
You don't get on screen, but he'll be participating, and we'll talk through what we're going to be doing next week in the State of Belonging briefing. So let's make sure things are showing up in all the right places.
I just realized I'm on as a guest, so I can't see when people ask questions or any of those things. Can we change my status?
Yeah, how do we do that?
This is like our tech run through. This is amazing.
Yeah.
If anybody in the comments knows how we change my status on Restream.
People, there we go. I think I'm getting there. Click on, let's see. How do I change you from guest? All right, we'll come back to that.
Okay. I feel like a vampire. I'm like, will you invite me in? I'm gonna run that back, and whatever that screenshot is of you doing it, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be awesome.
Well, we'll figure that out in a moment. In the meantime, I do see us on LinkedIn, which is great.
Yeah.
Put that on my feed as well.
There we go. Yep.
And then it should also be coming up on YouTube.
Amazing. I'm gonna see if I can see us on LinkedIn as well.
Did you accept a speaker?
Maybe not. Let's see. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm looking. See, like this is perfect actually for us to. Okay. The event is live. And event speakers. Oh, I'm still pending. Let's see.
Whoops. I've noticed LinkedIn events have been very glitchy lately. Like we tried to add Andy as a speaker, and you could never see the notification anywhere in his pending. Then I could see him as pending as the event manager, and then I removed him and tried to re-add him. And every time I re-add him, it says, yep. And then it literally just goes away.
And then it doesn't do it.
Yeah, it's very bizarre. So I see you there, but I don't see you as accepted.
Yeah, I see me pending. And so now I'm looking through my notifications. If anyone can see us, please tell us how to do it. Oh, here we go. Confirm. I think it's because maybe because I am like a page manager, and also so when I hit confirm, it just takes me to the list of speakers.
Okay, that might be an interesting glitch because that was also Andy's. He's got the same status.
Because the event is live, and Adam and I are both pending.
This is why we rehearse, people.
I know. This is so exciting. You all are watching it in real time. Comments. There are 2 comments. Let's see what they are. Oh, Adam is very excited. How did we find it on YouTube? Adam asks. I'm going to talk about a good human. Oh, here we go. Okay, so here's what happened is in the event, I needed to view as member. And then once I viewed as member, I could accept my invite.
Very cool. Okay.
Yeah. So there we
That is
go.
something for us to let him know as well.
Yeah.
That might be the issue. All right. So I'm looking on YouTube. Let's see. Let's get over to share my stories page.
I wonder if now I need to sign out and sign back in so that I'm in as a speaker.
You should be. So I was looking that up too. Do you see the chat now?
I see sources.
See the chat in Restream? I think you just have to like toggle it on.
Yep. Yay. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah. All right. Go here.
Only I don't know if I can respond back.
Okay, preview is live on YouTube. That's working. So I will drop that in the chat and we can get moving.
Amazing. Look at us.
Only took us 2-ish minutes to solve those
that's
technical
great.
challenges. I think that's excellent.
And we learned something really good.
Yeah, about LinkedIn and about Restream.
Yeah. Yep. Both of those things. I'm really excited because I think we have, gosh, I should look. I think we have like 115 people registered for the event next week on Thursday, which also, y'all, happens to be my birthday. So if you were thinking about not joining us on that day, I would really encourage you to rethink that because it's my birthday.
I think that's a great point. I'm really excited in general about this event. And we're going to talk a little bit about how we got here and why we're doing it. But first, I really want to thank you and Adam for the work you've done to help our team get to this place. You've been excellent thought partners, advisors, sometimes the virtual shoulder to lean on, literally and figuratively. And I'm really
little business therapy here and there.
Yes.
Yeah, it's great.
And I'm really grateful for our team, our whole team at Share More Stories and the SEEQ platform, because this is just a chance that we have coming up to really reflect the incredible work that they're doing with our incredible customers and what we're hearing and seeing in the broader marketplace. So yeah, let's dig in. I know we've got some ideas to get the convo going, and we've got some stuff to maybe show and tell. We'll traipse around it. We'll show a reminder of people. If you have not yet signed up for the event, go back to our company page on LinkedIn or on YouTube, sign up for the event, register. You definitely don't want to miss it. And also, this is the part that's really fun and also going to challenge you. If you have not, as a leader, if you haven't shared your story, you need to share your story. And you're going to say, no, that's not about me. It's about them. Well, how can you understand and really develop a deeper sense of belonging in your culture and in your brand if you're not willing to explore what it looks like and feels like to you? So we're going to have an invitation for you at the end. This is our little preview. We're going to say it probably 2 or 3 more times.
Yep. I just put the link in the chat on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Inviting you to share and participate and be heard, because, leaders are people too, and they have feelings too. And they have thoughts and perspectives about the experiences that they're not just leading, that they're part of. So yeah, let's get into it.
Well, and those experiences, I think we have to remember that there is one place where trickle-down economics actually work is where you have leaders who are really tuned in to their experiences and their feelings, and how closely they feel like they they belong and what connections they have to the people who they are, working with in their organization, but also to their clients. And that proliferates across the entire organization. So you can't be removed from the people in your company, and you certainly can't be removed from your clients if you want to be successful. And that's, I feel like, is kind of at the crux of all of this.
Well, it is, because, whether you're starting from, sometimes folks will come to us and say things like, hey, we have a customer experience problem. And when you really start saying, well, what does that mean? What you really have is either an organizational or a business results problem that is being driven and impacted by people's experiences. And that's having an impact on your overall objectives and goals and results that you're accountable for. So we start helping people move upstream. You might be looking at the finished problem and saying, this isn't working, fix this. Mm-hmm. And what we start working is like, well, let's go upstream. Let's see what's happening in the customer experience, what's happening in the employee experience, and ultimately what's happening at a leadership level. And that's what allows us to really connect those dots both directions. So to your point, it absolutely has to flow from leadership all the way through the organization out into the marketplace. Sometimes the marketplace gives the signal, and that causes us to go work the other direction and start saying, how do we fix this? And often the answer will bring us back to the leadership team.
Can I ask you, I know this is not a podcast, although it does take me back to the old days. You remember when we LinkedIn Lived in 2018 or something like that?
Yep. Terra Firma Live.
Oh, that's right. Also, I think I had you on Club Bucket too, didn't I?
I think so.
Yeah, that's this is old school, y'all. You're in leadership now, but you've gone through, you've been in leadership positions across multiple different organizations throughout your career. What was there a defining moment for you, or a defining event for you in your career that led you to creating this organization and creating this tool, that because it suddenly kind of you became aware that this was so important?
Yes, and there's two things that have been true for me for a very, very, very long time. One is stories as a unit of capturing, storing, recording human experience, human memory it's really, really important to the human condition. And I think we've gradually been losing touch with that. And I refuse to surrender that. I think it's a really, really big part of how we navigate life in relationships with other people, at work, in the marketplace, in the community, everywhere. So that's been true for me for a long time. The other thing that's been true is I've seen, and I've been on both sides of that table as the client and customer of lots of research and insights, and then as the provider, as the solutions provider. And I started seeing early on that in a lot of business today, and you can broaden this a little bit especially to the nonprofit sector. I think the public sector works a little differently, but especially in a lot of business, as folks got increasingly focused on short-term results, short-term objectives, the data streams mirrored that, right? So you need to know exactly what's happening with this person in this part of the organization or in the brand. And if you want to know exactly what is happening at this exact moment, and you want to sort of scale it across lots of people and lots of interactions, you're creating a very, very, very large, shallow view of things. Mm-hmm. And I think that's that's the status quo. There are lots of organizations with a ton of data about what's happening, where, who, when, but not a lot of understanding of why. And I've been a why person my whole life. I've been a curious person my whole life. I've always been the one to ask the questions I don't know the answers to, even when one executive told me that was a bad idea. I said, is this the courtroom in that movie where it says, I never ask questions I don't know the answer to?
Oh my God, you can't handle the truth.
You can't handle the truth. I'm like, that's a bad idea, because if I only ask questions I already know the answers to, I won't learn anything new. Mm-hmm. So for me personally, that was a guide through most of my career. And as we started exploring needs in this space, the stories, what got us into this, but then we started realizing, hey, there were a lot of gaps. There were a lot of opportunities. And, probably in the beginning, we were trying to figure out who's interested in stories. And the answer is like, I mean, everybody and nobody, right? Like everybody
Right.
needs stories. The question isn't about stories. The question is what's missing in people's decision-making processes? What's missing in their understanding of their employees and their customers and their communities? What's missing in how they translate what they know, all that data into much better actions that improve people's experiences and improve outcomes. So that's the path we've been on, and that's what led us down the path of turning, just a really feel good, nice to have experience around sharing stories to something that is much more still deeply human centered, but very much focused on impact as what the product is that our customers are really, really buying. They're buying impact. They're buying decisions that help them make better impact in their business and organizations.
I love that. That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I love what I get. I love what I do, and I don't believe that if you love what you do, you never work a day of your life, because I love what I do and I've been
No.
working like crazy.
Oh my goodness.
I'm tired.
I tell my students this all the time. There's like, love what you do and you'll get an ulcer, a receding hairline, like
I mean, I'm
a
tired
small
today and
bank
I love what I
account.
do.
No. There's not like do what you love and you'll work harder than you ever have in your life.
Yes,
You have
and
to
you will
make it
feel it
worth
was
it.
worth it
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
love it and you're doing it for the right reason. So, let's talk more about belonging, right? I think what emerged, we've done a lot of work over the years around different aspects of the overall employee experience, of the overall customer experience. We've done work at the early stage of a learning journey, what I would call diagnostic work, which is people bring us in to do a sort of a research project around, hey, we think we have a problem with recruitment, or we have a problem with retention, or we have a problem with new employees being onboarded, or we have a problem with our market is mature, our brand, our share is kind of capped. We need to figure out where we can grow. So people come to us with a very specific, discrete question, and it's usually one that they arrived at because they're saying to themselves, I don't think the current tools can answer this question for me. If they could, they would. If I didn't have to go out elsewhere, I wouldn't. And so they are really looking at places to say, hey, how else can I get at this bigger question? I see my buddy Oliver chiming in.
I know. Wait, can you put his comment up on
Yeah.
on the screen? Sorry,
Yeah.
Adam, we're kicking you off the screen and we're putting Oliver up there.
Yeah, my buddy Oliver, we worked together for a while.
Wait, are you allowed to have friends that aren't friends with me? I feel like that's illegal.
I'm sorry.
Oliver, why aren't we friends?
Oliver is an amazing human being on so many levels. We met working together at JMI, and he's a brilliant creative strategist, creative professional, creative director, also just an incredibly good human. And to your point, Oliver, I would say, yes, data needs stories to create connectivity. I would also say stories are data. They're just a type of data that people have overlooked in their decision-making sets. And what we're also educating on is you have lots of different types of data. You have lots of different inputs. If you go talk to 5 people, that's data. If you go, so we're saying, hey, you can gather these types of perspective experiences, inputs with a little bit more structure, a little bit more intention, and then do something with them, right? So in all those projects that we were having, right, where we were learning about how different organizations were navigating different parts of their employee experience broadly, different parts of the organizational culture, or different parts of what was happening from a brand, particularly a brand experience perspective, brand strategy, impact, brand values, how are people perceiving the brand? Maybe the brand has to go into new categories. How will it succeed? That started to create a few areas that I think we started to know deeply. And one of them is fundamentally like, how do people connect? How do they connect at work? How do they connect with the brand? And now I know there's some folks out there be like, who cares? And I'll be like, you should
Hey, James,
care.
I think you've got like something with your earbuds. It was
getting
clicking
scratchy.
in and out. Yeah.
Okay.
If you want, for next week, I'll drop off a microphone to you.
That'd be great.
I have like a whole bunch of those boom
big
mics.
That'd be great.
Yeah. A big O. I have some big O's. Big
awesome.
O mics.
So what I was saying is, I think one of the things that we were starting to learn is a lot about like just the very fundamental part of human connection. I say fundamental, but it's also we're talking about things that are kind of hierarchy of needs, right? People have functional needs, social needs, and emotional needs. And there's plenty of tools out there that help clients, even our clients, understand the functional needs that their employees and customers have.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of tools are doing a great job of understanding the social and emotional needs, and very few are doing that in a way that is measurable and actionable. And so that's the space we started coming into, but it allowed us to get really deep in some of those social and emotional needs, like connection, like belonging, like purpose, things that people say don't matter until you realize they're the whole context.
They're the whole
for how
thing.
a person's operating in your organization or in your marketplace. So we got deep into those spaces, and the deeper we got, one day, it was every now and then I have these sort of like Saturday or Sunday wake up what ifs. So I woke up one Saturday and I was like, what would it look like? We do case studies all the time, right? But I was like, what it would look like if we looked back at all the work we've done on belonging. I feel like belonging is a word that gets used a lot without a lot of consistent definition. We had started doing very specific projects in belonging with some of our customers, and they were like really, really revealing like what belonging actually looks like and feels like. And when we would do it with like leaders is when I'd get really, really intrigued, because the way leaders would talk about belonging was actually very similar to the way their teams would. And they almost found that somewhat shocking. And I'm like, this is actually a good thing. It means you all are navigating the same needs journey. And the question becomes, how do you not only fulfill it for yourself, but how do you fulfill it for your teams and your customers? So I think we had just come off a couple of those projects in the fall. We had done one with Leadership Metro Richmond. We did one with the YMCA at a symposium. And I was just like, there's a lot more here than I thought.
Yeah.
So we dug deep and went through a lot of projects, and we had 1,200, I think 4,000 stories and expressions. And it was like, wow, there's a big, big data set here that we've accumulated. So went through, pulled out the things that made sense to use, and started pulling it into, I like to write, I like my words. So,
I know. I was about to say,
was,
it's never a surprise to anyone that you've built a business around stories, because like you tell the most beautiful stories, and especially on social media, like sometimes I just go read your stuff and go, I need to cry. I need to feel good. I need to feel like a warm hug in a post.
I have to be sidebar on that, and this is part of belonging. Belonging is actually not just the conditions that are created, they are the conditions I create for myself and choose to either participate in or say that's not for me because I don't feel belonging there. But you can create like micro moments of belonging. Like the actions that we talk about at scale are also very much doable on a one-on-one day-to-day basis. And so for me, one of those things is I lean into complete, I want to be the same person, whether I'm writing about what's going on in the community, whether I'm writing about our business, writing about myself, my own journey, all that to me is relevant because I want to show people that that's possible and that that's doable. And you don't have to force yourself into compartments if you don't want to. So back to the study, right? First draft was like, hey, this is what I pulled together. It's probably a little crazy. And, we have a team of brilliant people from so many diverse walks of life and backgrounds. And they jumped in it with both feet and were like, this is really fascinating. What about this? And this is huge. And, this needs a lot more clarity. And it immediately galvanized the team to respond and to jump in. I was like, okay, so that's always the first litmus test, right? Do they buy in? Do they see something bigger? So they added to it. And then we, eventually published the report late last year, early this year, and started engaging people in conversations around it. And the conversations were, wait a minute, you studied belonging through stories, quantifying the emotions and the emotional pattern in those stories. You're quantifying how different people experience belonging, and then you're showing us what leaders can do to create more of it. Like, yes, please sign me up.
Right.
And
yeah, let's do this.
That's what kind of got us to this point.
I think so. It's when you started kind of working on this and talking about it, I'm slow but I'm steady. And so, like sometimes it takes a minute for me to get things. And even like when we very, very first started working together ages ago, and we were talking about stories and like how they can be used to create data points. And the thing that got me was we were talking about something one day, and the way that you explained it to me was like, if I was interviewing to work for your team and I said, "Can you tell me about the culture?" What you wouldn't say is, "Well, we're 62% this, and 14% of the time people answer emails within 24 hours," right? Like those types of things. That means nothing to me. And so you tell me stories about like, "Oh, this is what we do on Fridays," or this is how we interact whenever not everybody's on the same page. And my brain picks up certain data points to create a my own story around what that means. But I turn that into data, and you all have codified that in a way that um, takes thousands and thousands of stories and takes away the intuition part, and actually turns it into data. But even as you're telling the stories about those data points, they are stories in and of themselves,
They,
right?
they absolutely are. I had a brilliant conversation yesterday with a relatively new friend, Craig, that we met week before last at Tom Tom in Charlottesville, and he's an ethnographer, and so we were just chatting both there and recently, and he reminded me of something that I also know. All of us bring bias into everything we do because that's part of our context, right? So the context that I bring into what we decide to focus on as a company, or what projects we focus on, or how we translate those insights and actions in that company's context. There's still a lot of human decision making in it, and there should be.
Right.
and I want there to be for as absolutely long as possible. Like,
Hmm.
we use AI. We're in it. We've been in AI since 2016 with IBM's Global Entrepreneur Program. It's not new to us, but it is absolutely for us a tool. We are not seeking AI's replacement of ourselves or anybody else for that matter. And so, to me, the thing that remains quintessentially human as AI is eating the world is people's stories, their memories, their experiences, and the way those things make them feel. And yes, you can automate the decisions you make based on those things. You can train a thing to say, do these things based on these things. But you got to train them off of the human experience.
Right.
And that's what we are almost defenders of, protectors of,
Mhm.
advocates of, is in all of our sort of design and all of our building, let us not forget we are building with the human experience. That is the goal.
Will
So yeah,
you
go ahead,
Will
jump in.
you tell? There's a story that I love, and you don't have to tell who it is. We can anonymize it and just say that it's a business where a number of small children come in the front door. And you all did some work for them, and you talked about, and I don't know if you can talk about it, like specifically who it is, but if not, like you did some work around belonging and then change the way that they think about how these children feel whenever they walk in the door. Can you tell that story? Do you know which one I'm talking about?
Um,
With the paths, with the different colored paths?
Got it. Yes. So I think, sometimes the power of a story, right? And we'll talk about it both in the individual and the aggregate, because what you're going to see in the state of belonging is, you know, even though we're talking several thousand stories and expressions, every single one of them is unique and matters. And both every single one is unique, and also there are amazing, beautiful commonalities. And that's not only our job, that's what we've designed our platform to do, is surface the surprising commonalities and also the surprising differences that don't break the way you think when you're just looking at things demographically and behaviorally. And so sometimes we look at people and groups and say, let's say you are a youth serving organization. You could be a school, you could be a community center, and you say, how should we build or design this experience, or how should we build or design these programs, forgetting for the fact that most people would start by asking the parents via a survey, which is not bad at all. Nobody's saying surveys are not good. You need them. They just can't answer all the questions you have, even the questions you don't know you have, because some of those questions don't show up until people tell you about their experiences. Then they're like, oh, when I think about this is what I think. So in one case, we had a client that is building a new campus, and I love how visionary their CEO was, which is why we started working together, because their CEO said, I have a feeling, and now that I've sort of, spent a little bit of time with you all, I think I get it. I think I get what you're trying to help us do. Um, I don't need to ask families or communities or teachers how, how we should make the classroom size, or what program offerings we need, because we can get that information and we know a lot of that information. And if we don't, we know who to ask for that. But I want to know, to the degree that we understand that how people feel in a learning environment has a lot to do with how they learn. I guess I want to understand, like, what do they want to feel when they walk in? And so that started to explore. I was like, well, let's go to the stories. Let's ask.
Yeah.
And I love being with a CEO or another member of their leadership team with the SEEQ platform open. This is literally like human to human having a conversation, bringing in the tool in an appropriate way, right? The tool is sitting with me. I'm like, well, let's ask. And I start typing questions in, like, if we were designing this from a child-centric point of view, given the stories we've collected so far, what would we be asking ourselves and thinking differently about? And what I love about our process and our product is the answers come with a quote that proves the answer. The quote is an excerpt from the story and maybe a couple of emotions. So we've already mapped out what's important in designing this space, right? We've already said, these are the key principles, these are the key emotional drivers, got it. But now we want to get specific on a design question. And it said, well, what you should think about is, what is the child looking at from their height as they are getting out of a car or a bus or walking up the sidewalk from a block away? Because they're doing this. And what do they see?
And they're doing it from here.
And they're doing it from 2.5 to 3.5, maybe 4 feet high. They're not doing it at 5.5. They're not doing it at 5.5 or 6.5 feet high, right? So what do they see? What don't they see? And what would they want to see? And you might say things like, well, you want to sort of signal the things that they're going to enjoy when they come in, because you want to create welcome, belonging, recognition. Recognition is one of those aspects of belonging that not only, oh, this makes sense to me, shared context, I also feel seen and understood here. So you recognize me as much as I recognize this place. So recognition cues could be color-coded pathways. Oh, we're going swimming today, or we're going to do after-school work today, or I've got my morning tutoring session. So what if those types of experience were different color-coded pathways that show up on the sidewalk up to the front door? So the kid's like, I'm on the red path because as soon as we get in, I'm going to see I'm seeing my teacher. I'm on the blue path. As soon as we get in, I'm going to take swim lessons. And those ideas are really embedded in the notion that, hey, people navigate experiences differently, but there are some common needs that we're laddering up to. And that need for belonging exists in every human being on some level or another. Maybe not literally every human being. I can think of a few people who maybe it turned off early or they turned it off, but for most have it and want it and need it, right? And so that's really what we're talking about, is when you recenter the humans in your organization, in your community, in your market, and you say, what would be different about this if we were doing this from their point of view? If we see the current state of the business or the brand or the culture, and we know there's a set of decisions we're making today that are leading to that, the question would be, hey, if we ask these folks what they really care about in a story-based way, what might we then start reprioritizing? And what might that mean for the outcomes and impacts that we seek? How do we align their needs, goals, aspirations, hopes and dreams, even fears to be overcome with what we believe is our reason for being as a business, organization, or community? How do we make those things meet in the middle? That's what belonging allows you to do. So it's not just a feel good, although I hate when people say feel good as if that diminishes it. Like, all humans feel something. And wouldn't you rather feel good?
I think when you lean back, it hits your shirt. And
when I lean back,
you need to lean in.
I need to lean in.
Yeah. Also, while we're leaning in, we have to say hi to Christina, who
hey, Christina,
talk about an amazing human, like one of my very favorite humans ever.
Yes, she's good people.
Yeah, and especially here in Richmond, and also I think rivals me for a shoe collection.
I can probably safely say I do not rival either of you in the shoe collection department, because I get
You
a
don't
pair
even
and
rival me
I
in how many pair of shoes I have in my living room right
I
now that I just haven't bothered
I
to put
agree.
away.
I agree,
Yeah.
because all the
Yeah.
shoes in my living room are the kids in
Yeah.
double stacked rows. So,
Even then.
yes.
Also, did you see, so Adam popped in, I don't know where, maybe
He's on YouTube.
on YouTube, and he says, these are parts of the human condition, and last I checked, employees and customers are humans, right? And I think
Yes.
that's the crux of it.
He was asking about connection, belonging, and purpose being
Mhm.
business decisions, and I chimed back in, yes, of course, because these aren't.
Oh,
That's what I
that's
mean
you.
when I
Okay.
say feel good is not something to add to the end of the conversation.
Mhm.
Feeling is something to put at the beginning of the conversation, because I can always boil it down. Even when I'm dealing with the hardest edged, stereotypical executive, I can
Mhm.
always bring it down to a level of, well, how does that make you feel? Okay, well, what are you thinking right
Right.
now?
Yeah.
What is your reaction to this?
Mhm.
And you can
And if it makes
especially,
you feel deeply uncomfortable, then it's something that
that's part
you,
of it.
right. But also, if you were like, "I knew it." And I think that that's a big thing that we don't really talk about, is the validation of the instincts that so many leaders have, that they choose not to follow the instincts because maybe that's just not the way it's been done over time. Maybe that's not how it's written in a business book, or, they don't quite know how to articulate how important this is, and so they don't know how to talk to their team about it. And so there, I think that, oh, I love that you're popping this up.
Yeah,
I think that sometimes data uncovers things where leaders are like, we had no idea. Like, there's an aha moment, and that's amazing. But more often than not, it feels like a lot of what you do is you validate the gut instincts that they have, that intuition that they have, which is one of the reasons why they're impactful and amazing leaders in the first place. And then take it the steps for it. Like, okay, yes, this is validated. Now let's dig in. Why is it important? Who is it important to? How do you explore this more? And what does this look like in real life? So that you give them the words and the data to be able to take it to their team and say, I had a gut feeling about this. We're
yeah.
right. And this is why, and this is how we do it.
And that is definitely true for a lot of the executive leaders we work with. I would add one caveat. The folks that we work with and that want to work with us, they they already believe that understanding the human experience is crucial to them achieving better business, organizational,
Mhm.
and community outcomes. They already believe that.
Yeah.
On some level, even if they believe it more intellectually than quote unquote emotionally, they believe that. So they're in that bucket. And then they also have responsibility and accountability for those objectives. They have the ability to say, and they have oversight, if you will, either direct accountability or oversight for those two big buckets of experience in their in their purview, right? The organization, employee experience, the marketplace, customer experience. So when they are in both of those spaces, they often are starting to ask questions
Mhm.
beyond the current data. They are asking questions about, the outcomes that I'm starting to see with my trained, experienced eyes, which are also biased and can have a strong point of view. But I'm starting to see a thing. I like to say, I want to see something. Let me see something, and they start seeing something that doesn't quite match up with what the data that they have is telling them. You have to say the data they
Mhm.
have, because it's not like they have all the data all the time. The
Right.
data they have is missing part of either explaining why something is happening, or it's actually not capturing something that's happening
Mhm.
that's meaningful and could be important to the future of the business. And so when they get to that point, we are really, really helpful for them. Um, they can do great work without us if they are before that point, if they can go ask their current data the questions. But
Mhm.
when they start realizing, the current data I have, it's not lining up with the outcomes that I see, or doesn't help us understand the outcomes that we seek. See what I did
Mhm.
there?
SEEQ. Ha 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 ha.
Um,
Wait, tell us what SEEQ stands for.
SEEK stands for Stories to Engage, Explore, and Question. And we came up with that in late 2018, early 2019, and it's held up
Mhm.
pretty well so far.
Yeah.
Um, let's just trip through a couple of these slides real quick,
Yeah.
because I do think I'm curious to hear and see what resonates with you, and what we might spend a lot of time talking about next week. You know, we start with this idea of sort of a external, pretty widely accepted definition. We built this using, Harvard Business School, a couple of studies, McKinsey, Gallup, and kind of said, like, if you take these things together, what is a good working definition of belonging? Because we needed something to analyze against, right, to push against. Then we talk a little bit about why it matters, right? I think you and I have been having this conversation in general, but even if you go back to 23, right, the Surgeon General releases a groundbreaking report on the epidemic of loneliness. And this is no longer just something we can, say, it would be nice if we could make progress on that. It's impacting the well-being. I know it says mental and physical, it's all well-being.
Yeah.
It's impacting that in a big way, right? We start talking about, again, some of the benchmarks. More and more people just this spring are reporting out just how important belonging is becoming as a core contributor to the business performance. So if you're on that, great. If you're not on that, this is going to help you get up to speed, right? So then we'll talk high level, like, what did we do? How did we get there? I'm not going to get into all the weeds today, but there's a really, really solid methodology behind it in terms of what we pulled in, what we kept out, and how we analyzed it. We are building what we believe to be the largest qualitative, quantitative, emotional data set of its kind. Why? Because not only do we have 4,000 stories and expressions, we got 160,000 individual emotional data points behind those experiences.
Yeah.
So we can start to map the emotional architecture of belonging, right? We're going to talk about what it feels like when you feel belonging, or when you feel like you're in a place or experience where there is not belonging, non-belonging, or what we even call belonging poor environments, belonging rich, belonging poor.
This is, I think, just to make sure that we continue to tell people this, in the comments, if you're a leader, there's a link. We're looking for your own personal stories about a time when you felt like you belonged or you didn't, or you had, an employee or a client, and that's what that link is. And that's what we're going to be actually pulling real data from, the stories that leaders are sharing with us and have been sharing with us over the last couple of weeks. So, like, see this and then know this is why we're asking for these stories.
Yeah, because we want to add, again, you're a human too, and you've had experiences either leading with, great joy and satisfaction, or great frustration, or seeing, this customer experience could have been better if, or this employee experience could have been better if, or I could have been better if, or I needed something. Any and all of that, you'll see it when you go to that, hit that link. You can record your story in audio. That gives you about 5 to 10 minutes. It's really quick. Just think about the prompt for a second and then go ahead and record. Or you can register on our platform and write a story if you're more I want to think about it, write it, and come back kind of person. Yeah. But in any event, it's going to give us a sense to add your perspective to what we already know. And we're going to keep doing this. We're going to keep building this data set as we collect more perspectives specifically around this topic. We start to look at the data itself without getting into the weeds today. We score things on a range of 0 to 4, over 50 different emotional attributes of needs, values, personality traits and facets, core emotions, and all that built on some of the sort of foundational psychological models of, the core 5 personality traits, the core 5 values, and so forth. So we built it off of that, and we measure that across all of these indicators based on what is shared in people's stories on the topic. And so you start to see, like, things like sympathy or even empathy, altruism, and openness are really good emotional indicators of environments where belonging is very high, meaning there's mutual care, there's support and generosity, I can be myself and I can be authentic in that. I can feel safe in doing that. Note though, it doesn't have to be an excitement-filled environment. Everybody doesn't have to be super chatty all the time. Everybody doesn't have to be an extrovert to feel like they belong. I think sometimes we have been sort of prejudiced in that sense, that certain personality types or the way you show up indicated that. There's a lot more to it than that, right? We'll get into, again, the belonging poor, the low belonging environments. It's not just an absence of belonging. It's actually, hey, these are places where belonging is so low, it shows up in the data, right? So emotionality, meaning they can't really necessarily regulate their own emotions because the environment feels so unstable. cautious. So instead of being curious and open, they're afraid of judgment. If you're looking at your organization today and you're like, why won't they dig into these problems? Why won't they come up with solutions on their own? Why won't they explore, things with curiosity? Maybe they don't feel safe to do that. Maybe they feel like the answers they come back with are going to cause judgment or exclusion, cautiousness, right? So you can start to litmus test immediately your own organization when you start looking at this data. You can start saying, oh, if my team are doing some of these things, there's a good chance we have a pretty rich belonging environment, whether it's my team, my culture, organization as a whole. On the flip side, if I see these things, there's a good chance that belonging is low or poor in this environment, and people aren't feeling the emotional safety connection that they want to have. A couple more things real quick before we jump. I'm not going to get into this, but I want people to know we have it. We have emotionally driven personas specific to belonging. So you can start to say, well, how do I identify these people in my team or my organization or my customer base? And then how do I, as a leader, connect with them? How do I build brands, programs, experiences that will resonate with these types of individuals, which I think is really cool.
I have a question for you, and that is, from a practical application perspective, for instance, something that I do a lot of is product innovation and product discovery. And I think oftentimes when we think about belonging, we maybe think about the employee experience. How do you feel when you come to work? But what are some practical applications for clients? Because client experience, we know that there's a flywheel here, right? Like happy employees make happy customers, and happy customers make happy shareholders, and happy shareholders make happy employees, and it goes around and around and around, right? So from a financial perspective, it makes sense to explore this. But also, for instance, if I was launching a new product, how could I take some of these data points around belonging and apply them to the data points that I need to know about making my clients feel like this is the product for them, or we're the company for them to help them solve this problem.
This kind of insight helps you figure out, what do I need to design for with intention? What do I need to build into the product and brand experience? And it starts with first saying, do you know what you think that is? So maybe the first step is diagnostic, to actually understand in this particular segment of the market, either our current customer or our target customer, what sort of emotions or experiences related to belonging align with their high levels of loyalty, not just retention, but loyalty, right? Not just satisfaction, but ambassadorship. What experiences create those moments, and how do those moments make them feel? So let's say you've done that. Now you have a sort of a baseline. What this allows you to do is say, so if we're designing certain features and functional benefits, we want those to ladder up to these social and emotional benefits. We want to meet these social and emotional needs. And as most marketers and product leaders will tell you, I can't always spend my time talking about and selling the social and emotional benefit. I've got to first build credibility and sort of low friction entry points based on the functional benefits. But if the functional benefits don't eventually put that customer on a pathway to the social and emotional benefits, they are very, very susceptible to leaving the brand when another company comes along that does it well, does it better. And you say, no, they don't care about that. Ask any brand manager who's losing share today. Are you just getting beaten on the functional, or is there something else that brand is doing better than you are in terms of building experience? If you're selling widgets, it might be hard to say, well, what's the emotional side of selling widgets? Although if you gave me time, I can map any product category up that needs ladder. I guarantee it. But look at emotionally rich experiences like travel, like buying big ticket purchases, like investing large parts of your money. This is B2B too. If you're a startup or an early stage company and you're investing a large part of your cash flow into a product or service designed to help you grow, you're not just buying a tool to help you grow. You're buying like runway for the dream. You want the dream to come true sooner rather than later, so you can make an impact. The people that understand that and sell to that motivator are saying, I get you. You're trying to make a difference in the world. We're going to help you do that. Here's how. Instead of, we can get you X number of cold emails and fake LinkedIn DMs and all those other things. Those are, I wouldn't even say those are benefits. Those are features. And then the question is, what functional benefit do they have? Depends on your business, but fair to middling. What emotional benefit are they delivering? So I got this up on the screen. Sorry, go ahead.
I think about like, even things, brands who do this really, really well, right?
Yeah.
Like if I have to choose between going to a Kroger and a Trader Joe's, like I'm a Trader Joe's girly, right? Because Trader Joe's gets me. They understand when I walk in, they've built an experience for me that feels like it is built for me, right? Like I know exactly, I feel at home there. And I think that we overlook that sometimes with products. And, we say, yeah, it's got all the features and functionality that anybody could ever want. But does it feel like it's made for me? Does it feel like, it resonates with me every time that I use it? Okay. Tell them what you have up on your screen.
Yeah. So we mentioned it in the beginning, in the middle, and again here in the end. Share your story, especially from a leader's point of view, but not only that. If you've got an experience that you think matters and you want to be heard, you want to be told, I will tell you, there's nothing like getting that story out. And at first you may think, I don't have time to share a story. You don't have time not to, because Dr. Maya Angelou is famous in saying there's no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside of you. And your therapist would tell you, if you ask them, should I get this story out? They'll say, yes. That would make my life so much easier when you come and see me, because when you walk around with this backpack full of untold stories. You know who has a lot of untold stories? Leaders do, because leaders keep a lot of this stuff in, the stuff that they're feeling, navigating their frustrations, their pain points, not just organizationally, building the business and the brand in the marketplace, keep a lot in. And so when you get a chance to explore that for yourself, do it. This is your chance. Share your story of how you've experienced belonging, or the frustrations or the joys you're experiencing leading and building belonging in your organization, your brand, or your community. Want to hear all about it, and we'll bring some of those insights live into our briefing, only with your permission. If you say, I don't want my story used publicly, it won't be. If you want to share anonymously, you can. So that's number one for us. But I want you to know this is a place for you to be heard, so that your voice can be part of what we all collectively do better, which is build incredible experiences for the people who want to work with us, who want to buy from us, and who want to live in the communities that we're a part of as well.
I love it. All right, everybody, we will see you on May 14th next week. And it is from, what time are we doing it on the 14th?
I think we're doing it 2 p.m. Eastern.
2 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah.
Right here on LinkedIn Live and YouTube. We can't wait to see you.
Oh, check it out. I just noticed this little toggle. I don't really know what this looks like, but we can throw the chat in.
It's just like, it does cover my face.
I don't like that. That's funny. But this is also run through and dress rehearsal. So we want to see what all the little buttons do. Now we know. Don't hit show on stream, because it will just cover April's face.
Yeah. And I think next time we might want to go into presenter mode whenever you're sharing slides.
There'll be a couple of the SMS leadership team members. We'll have Andy Citizen, we'll have Chrissy Keaton on the call with us. And it'll just be our chance to both talk through what we've learned in this space, a little bit of where we're going with it, show you some of the key insights, and then again, get into some conversation with whoever's joining us about what does this look like in your organization or brand? What does this inspire you to think about? What could you do differently? We'll go from there.
Amazing. All right, y'all. We'll see you next week.
Bye.